Old Testament in Numbers 21 or someplace, that he cleansed the camp of impurity and therefore won the right to the high priesthood for his descendants in perpetuity. I mean, I'm not advocating this, I'm just saying what the issues were. The zeal for the Lord that Phinehas showed, won for him the covenant of peace, as it was called. This is raised in the Maccabee books to consolidate the priesthood of the Maccabean family, who are priests, and they claim that by everyone who has zeal for the law, the Maccabee books say, follow us. So they wanted a native appointment procedure, basically. The scrolls are the same. They want a righteous high priest. And so the big thing was that first of all, the Romans, after the conquest by Pompey, appointed the high priest, and then once they gave the country over to Herodian kings who had carved out a governorship for themselves, then the Herodian kings kept the high priestly vestments and appointed the high priests. So now everything, the Pharisee party then went away. I said that we had a group called the Hasideans. Maccabees 2 says that the Hasideans were the followers of Judas Maccabee par excellence. That's like the Hasidim here in Long Beach. We say in English, but it's really Hasidim. Pious people now. Jewish mysticism has kept these traditions alive down to our time. So we have Jewish mystic groups now calling themselves, led by a tzaddik, who are Hasid, and the tzaddik, the righteous one, leads the Hasidim, and so on, and et cetera, et cetera. This is in the modern, what we call, what are those groups in Long Beach? What do they call themselves? Oh, Hasidim. That's what they call themselves. Hasidic groups. But this is already in the Maccabean literature. And the Hasidim were the followers of Judas Maccabee par excellence. And the Maccabees 2 book says at the end that these people went to the Seleucids and said, look, these Hasideans are the followers of Judas Maccabee, and they will not let the kingdom have peace. And because they don't follow a high priest appointed by you, and then the guy wants them to appoint him. His name is Alchemus, and in any case, the Maccabee books come to an end on that note with him leading Seleucid forces back into Palestine to try to overcome the Maccabees. Well, this goes on down, and the group of the Hasidim that break away, Pharisee means to break away, they break away from the Hasidic movement and honor, they say, oh, this is a high priest of the lineage, therefore we can accept him. So they honor that, and I say that's the birth movement of the Pharisee party. It's about 150 BC, and it has to do with priestly legitimacy. It's in my books. You can get it in my book called The Dead Sea Scrolls and the First Christians. I go into all those things in those books. There's a monograph in that collection called Maccabees, Zadokites, Christians, and Qumran being the name for the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And I show that's the issue was priestly legitimacy and whether it was going to be a native priesthood or a foreign appointed priesthood. Once you get the group saying we'll accept foreign appointed high priests, they accept all the other things. They accept the Herodian dynasty, they accept Herod. The famous Hillel and Shammai seem to have been Herod's head of Sanhedrin. Now these are heroes among the Jewish people, granted, but it's clear from Josephus' works that they or someone very close like them, Josephus calls these two individuals Polio and Sameas. Polio and Sameas. And I can't imagine that they can represent anyone but what the rabbinic groups call Hillel and Shammai. I think that's just obvious. And they were the head of his Sanhedrin, and they predicted that you shouldn't resist Herod, and they told the people in 37 BC when Herod came back with a Roman army to impose himself on the people, who had gone over to the Maccabeans again, who were constantly causing trouble and trying to get back the power that they had lost to the Roman armies and the Herodian family, that the Polio and Sameas recommended to the people of Jerusalem in 37 BC when Mark Antony gave Herod an army to come back and take Jerusalem, to open the gates to Herod. That was their recommendation all the time. And to show that not the popular party, the people resisted, did not open the gates to Herod, and Herod stormed the city with Roman troops and massacred everyone who resisted him. And these were the old establishment, the Maccabean establishment. So that went on to Herod's death in 4 BC, and then the revolutionary strife broke out again all the way up to 66 AD, and then up to 132 to 136. You say, well, he shouldn't have done all this. It was wrong, troublesome. Well, if you were dealing with emperors like Nero, you know, people were involved in incest, and Tiberius had little boys down on his little island in Capri, where he used to, according to the Suetonius, nibble at their sexual parts as they swam by. And you couldn't have expected the people in Palestine with their mores to accept this kind of behavior from the ruling classes. And therefore, the scrolls make a big thing about fornication. I'm not about this. I'm just trying to sort out historical problems. You know, I'm not myself not going to make problems over such issues. I'll fight for birds, maybe, but not the most thing that I'll do. But so this struggle is going. So what did the Pharisees allowed niece marriage? The scrolls opposed niece marriage. The Pharisees did not oppose polygamy. The scrolls opposed polygamy. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong, I'm just telling you why. Because the Herodian Herod had 10 wives, and the Pharisee says it's okay. That's part of the seeking accommodation with foreigners. You say, well, why don't Jews have 10 wives today? Because in about 1000 AD, Pharisaic Judaism, Rabbinic Judaism finally outlawed polygamy. Wasn't the custom too much anyway. But the Herodian family was an Arabo-Greek family, and that's what they were like the Saudi family today. And Herod had 10 wives. It was unheard of. And so that, to my mind, when they're attacking polygamy and say the ruler should have one wife and only one wife in all his lifetime, that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Temple Scroll. They're attacking the Herodian establishment. And the Pharisees accepted it. So over small points of law, they made big issues. Build a fence around the Torah, they said. But over big points of law, cooperation with foreign power, polygamy, niece marriage, different things of that kind, they let slide. And that was what the fight was about. And that's the difference. So there's lots of things in the Talmudic literature that make a lot of issues, and that's later on. Anyway, a lot of those discussions come after the temple fell. Anyway, I'm just telling you what it was before the temple fell. After the temple fell, they had their own schools that they argued among each other. The school of Shammai was more strict, the school of Hillel was more liberal, and so on. But they had their own arguments in their different schools, where they were in Palestine or different cities in Iraq.